8 hours.
Self-deprecating. There we go.
8 hours of live streaming lies in your future.
Yay!
I hope you're happy.
It lies and lies.
Okay, shall we get going?
Well, it says live. I think we should be doing something now. Yeah.
It does. However, I've got the view account on my screen and there's no one.
Oh, really?
This is what happens when you do a live stream on a Friday night. Like, you can just ask anyone.
We keep talking about wrestling?
We could. You just ask anyone on Instagram, right? It's going to, like, sooner or later, it's going to flick over to one viewer, and you know that that'll be Brad.
And then we should all put on our serious faces and say, Transformers are quite nice.
Transformers have been a rewarding pursuit that I've enjoyed being into for about 1/3 of my life.
At this juncture, I find them to be rightfully great.
Yes.
Bro.
Yeah. Paul Lynham behind the same fucking desk. Poor Paul Lynham, he's now dead as well.
Desk.
Yeah.
For the same fucking background.
I could do that. Okay, all right. Shall we
go
go?
Downhill from here, gentlemen.
It pretty much is. Okay. All right. Welcome to Australian Transformers Weekly. We are bringing you Transformers news and a lot of wrestling asides, if the pre-show discussion is anything to go by, from around the world and Australia, and very specifically Launceston, Tasmania. This is episode 178. We are recording live on January the 18th, 2019. This week, we will be talking about Transformers Siege coming to Australia, not coming to any of the stores that live near that we live anywhere nearby, but whatevs. BotBots are also out here, and there's been some concept art released for the Bumblebee movie that seems to confirm a few things that we've heard.
It's a bit late now. Isn't the movie already out?
Yes, it's slightly more than a concept.
Okay.
All that and more is coming up after this. Has anyone got the perfect match theme? Ooh, all right.
I do, man, oh man.
I honestly do not remember the theme for Man Oh Man.
For some reason, it's in my head and I can't remember why. Traumatic childhood, possibly.
Gypsy Brad. Yes. All right. Welcome to the show. As I said, this is episode 178. 178. We are recording on the 18th of January 2019. I'm Jason Murray, coming to you from Sydney. Joining me this week, we have a confluence of people who used to be guests who are going to be appearing on the podcast far more regularly, and I'm quite excited about it. Coming to us from Tasmania, Ash Whaling. How are you doing, mate?
Very good. I've finished my Shaktakon, so I can now turf it. Very good.
Right.
It's far too hot in Tassie, and somehow I'm still alive, so doing very well down here.
Spare a thought for Sydney. We'll talk about the weather in a minute, right? Yeah. And coming to us from Perth, where it's probably also stinking hot. Groovy Guy, how are you doing?
I am doing quite well, and I'm also very excited to be regular soon.
Yes, look, I hope you do get to stay regular.
The pay's not any better, just so you know. You get paid the same as a guest.
No, I'm actually doubling your pay.
You get
really? You can add a zero to it? Excellent.
Yeah. We can certainly add more zeros to zeros.
Oh,
there you go, folks. The first tip of today is how to get a higher rate.
Yes.
Yeah. Living on royalty checks at the moment from this show.
Look, I got some awkward news about the royalty checks, right? The YouTube copyright. Yeah. So look, it's nice to have you guys on board. Little bit of a shifting of some chairs in the podcast hosting duties. So we will be hearing from you guys more often. Now, Ash, I think this might be your third appearance on the podcast, or is it your fourth?
I think it's my third. I mean, generally, it was the highlight was me telling you all about me going to Comic-Con 2016. Obviously, that was right before Combiner Wars kicked off. So rest assured, that was the most interesting thing I'll ever say. So somehow I'm going to try and live in that shadow. So we're doing pretty well.
Fair enough. That sounds good to me. Groovy guy, what have you been up to?
Not too
Christmas,
much, man.
New Year?
Saw the Bumblebee movie. Seen the desolate wastelands that have become the local Transformers aisles in shops everywhere lately.
Oh.
It's just horrible. I'm trying to get Bear Grylls to do one of these Man vs. Wild shows there because that'll be a challenge for him.
Isn't it absurd? It's kind of interesting how, like, sort of the Christmas period's gone through. We're past the Boxing Day sales, and now we're in this really weird limbo where obviously Siege is right around the corner, but it just means that nothing's getting restocked. My local Target, because I'm so close to it, I visit it most days when I go for a walk during my lunch break.
Yeah.
It's literally the Transformers section, which is labeled the Transformers section, is slowly getting infested with Tonka toys. They haven't removed the Transformers stock. They've just started putting the Tonka toys around it. And the highlight of it, and a friend of mine and I both check it quite regularly, is a Studio Series Blackout figure that has been there since before Christmas, but every day we see him, the box is slightly more disheveled. It's like people are abusing the poor guy.
What you don't see is that when you leave the store, someone comes in and buys it, takes it home, and then goes, "Oh, actually, I don't want this," and then they return it, and it ends up on the shelf.
Waiting for Siege. I'm just getting ahead of myself, but yeah, it has an anti-theft device around it, so with like one of those sort of cross sections of like wire. Everything outside of the wire section, I don't know, but everything underneath the anti-theft section is just derelict. It's been destroyed. Yeah. At one point, I'm going to go in there and offer them $20 as a pity purchase, please. I need to take this abused figure home. I don't even want him, but the fact that he's sitting here, I can hear him being sad. It's absurd.
And you know, as soon as you walk out of the store with that figure, like confetti cannons will go off and balloons will fall, and they'll be like, "Great, now we can put Siege out."
Excellent. Thanks for buying this ruined figure for $98. Thanks, Target. Yeah. Siege is now on the shelf.
Yay. I'm just worried that you were saying that you got Tonka toys moving towards the Transformers section. Just wondering if someone buys a Tonka truck and then takes it back saying, this doesn't transform.
That's ridiculous. There's a big banner that says Transformers on it and everything says the Transformers prices, but like around the corners, Tonka toys, and then they're sort of starting to sneak around.
I got some bad news for you, actually. It's been that long that Tonka toys actually transform.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yep. It's actually a Studio Series Devastator in disguise.
I will take your stories of retail hell, and I'm going to merge that in with our first story tonight. Say tonight, today, whatever.
Yay, hell!
Which is the appearance of Transformers War for Cybertron Siege at Australian retail. Now we managed to, after recording the first podcast of the year last Friday and just going, where the hell is Siege? Saturday morning popped up, and TCCA member Hayley in Melbourne happened to go to her local Toy World store and go, hey guys, I've found some new toys.
Just seeing them sitting on the shelf like they actually exist. It's like seeing a unicorn at your local park. It actually does happen. It's not just for Europe anymore, kids.
So I've been waiting patiently for these figures to make it to New South Wales. You've been waiting for them to go to Tasmania and also Perth. Like, I know that Perth apparently gets things really, really late, but we're not used to New South Wales being so late on the release of these. I walked into a Kmart store yesterday. I'm going to say by mistake. I didn't walk into Kmart by mistake. I'm going to say under false pretenses, which were my own fault.
This isn't the bank.
Yes, God, where is all my money? So I went into the Kmart store at Broadway, one of the bigger ones in Sydney, and the Transformers section literally consisted of a Cyberverse Starscream, 2 Mighty Mugs, and a Legends Bumblebee figure, and a bunch of empty shelves that they'd actually bothered to put labels on saying temporarily out of stock.
Wow, that's the benefit I've seen go into an out of stock Transformers collection.
So you've seen Tonka toys encroaching on the Transformers section. I am sad to report that in a few places that I've been, it's Fortnite toys.
Yeah,
they're everywhere. These new Fortnite action figures, they're taking up Transformers shelf space.
Opposite the Transformers section in Target is a large range of Fortnite related things, and it's quite depressing that when I go in there, it's beautifully shelved and put out, and there's actually people browsing it, and there's people digging through the figures, like me looking for the one that I don't have.
Look, tell me which one you're looking for, because I can probably find it.
Yeah,
probably has a spare.
It's actually quite interesting with Siege finally arriving. I've actually lost a bet. A friend of mine, I sat down and I had my own sort of napkin math, and I said we won't see Siege till March.
Well, it's kind of funny actually, because a lot of places have put Siege up for pre-order. I was looking at the Mighty Ape, and their pre-order page for the Siege figures say that they're due on the 29th of March.
Yeah.
So I would say that you're not actually that far off.
I think online retailers, I thought that most major distribution houses would start to get the figures closer to March, and that's when they'd finally sort of shoot out to the different areas of Australia that people care about the plastic crack as such. And I was positive. I said, like, because a friend of mine was very, very keen on buying it. You know how sort of towards the end of last year, American retailers were starting to get it, people were starting to sell it, and it was like, you can buy Deluxe right now for $60 Australian. And he was like, it's a bit steep. I'm like, yeah, but it's because you're buying early bird, you're getting it from international, you're paying shipping. It's not easy. Yeah. I said, just hold out, save up your money. By the time it's finally here in March, you'll be able to afford the entire first wave. And now it's January, and he's like, you lied to me. I can only afford a couple.
Some people have reported on some of the sightings pages that some retailers actually have the stock, but they're not allowed to release them until Monday, this coming Monday, apparently.
Ooh. Well, that's another thing I was going to mention. So my local Toy World is very understanding. Obviously, it's Tasmania, it's Launceston, it's very small. So
did you say understanding or apologetic, or are they the same thing?
In Tasmania, it's the same thing. But when the 30-something-year-old man walks in for the third time that week, goes to Transformers section, looks at it, deep breath in, and goes to leave, one of the women actually said, "Is there something in particular you're looking for?" And I was like, we finally reached the point where I need to explain myself. And I said, hello, yes, I like to collect the transforming toys from when I was a kid. And I'm looking for a new series that's coming out soon. And to my surprise, she actually called over one of her colleagues who is the Transformers expert for the store. And she revealed that we have been invoiced for them. And more than likely we'll have them next week. And this is just this Monday gone.
Interesting.
I made the mistake of telling Tasmanian collectors that I'm friends with that, we're probably going to see them this coming week, and now they've all got plans to go in there and get there, so I've released my intel far too soon.
It's a rookie mistake, unfortunately. It does happen.
Should we also be worried, though, that some other department stores are literally stocking G1 toys? David Jones, they're like literally got G1 toys up on display. It's like people are thinking Australia is that far out of whack.
Wait. What's in David Jones?
David Jones, they got the G1 Minibot reissues. I got a couple of them.
Oh, what, like
really?
Yeah, like Outback and Bumblebee.
Wow. Okay. So I didn't know that David Jones had the Minibots. That's quite interesting.
Apparently, it was them.
Yeah.
I knew Cotton On did it. It's very strange that a clothing retailer.
Cotton On. Maybe it was them too.
I reckon it was Cotton On.
Yeah.
Very, very odd. So we can't get the new stuff, but the old stuff, that's popping up in your local clothing store apparently.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. I still think that the Minibots they're keeping the Minibots away from the main retail because they don't want to actually draw purchasing away from the newer figures. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
I think they're making plenty of profit off the Minibots.
Yeah, true. Well, I got them for Christmas presents, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of small robots as well, alongside Siege is also now the sightings of the Transformers BotBots, as it were.
There we are. Transformers BotBots. They've clearly arrived in the same container because, as you can see from the photo, they are also at Toy World. And believe me, I've spent a long time walking through the Ushies display area looking for BotBots because, I figure that they're probably going to be in that area, and they're not out in New South Wales yet. So BotBots are making an appearance at local retail. They are $5 for a single blind pack, which is it's okay. It's $5 for a little Transformer. And they are what are they? $15 for the 5-pack and $25 for the 8-pack, which someone did the maths and said that technically makes the 5-pack the best deal.
It is. I don't mind them. I actually think it's kind of an interesting case of they are effectively the Coles Minis, but they transform.
Yes, they are. They're also super cute. Do any of you guys have them?
I do not have them, not as yet.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Is that the one that
Yeah.
turns?
There we go.
Is that the coffee cup?
He turns into the toilet paper. This one. You might have seen Megatron wiping his ass with him in the photo that I posted on TCDA. Not my photo, I will add, but like these guys are super cute, and like I know that I'm not actually the focus of the thing, so I don't know if this shows up on the video, but yeah, no, there's plenty of them. I got a couple of the 5-packs. I got them off Amazon, and they ended up quite expensive, and I'm not going to do that again. So I just decided to wait for the local release, but they are cute and they're fun to have.
See, the thing for me when it comes to the bot boss is that they fill a really specific niche for me. I'm the kind of guy that, like, when they start to mark down the Legends figures, some of the Legends scale stuff that I'm not interested in, as soon as it approaches like the $5 mark, I'm like,
yep,
okay, I'll give it a go. And I've had some surprises. So these sitting at about the $5 mark is kind of the case of I can kill off the shrapnel in my wallet and pick up effectively a Coles Mini that transforms into something, and they're all original characters.
I know.
That's what I like. They
Yeah.
didn't try to shoehorn like the original G1 cast into it. It's not like Optimus Prime Rib or, you know, side arsewipe or whichever turning into the toilet paper. They're all new doofy little dudes with ridiculous names and gimmicks, and I really, really like them.
I've put one of my tweets up from the other day. There was someone on Twitter pointed out that he was quite happy that he had obtained Sippy Slurps and Venus Frog Trap. At which point I said, people wonder why Hasbro keeps going to G1 names and trademarks is because their creative team exhausted their next 5 years of output by naming 81 BotBots characters. Like, fair enough. Give them a rest. Let them wheel out Soundwave for the next 5 years. I don't care.
That is absolutely brilliant. Sippy Slurps.
I know, right? But no, I gotta say, I'm more impressed with Venus Frog Trap.
I love that. I forget which one it was, but there was one that turns into pizza. I cannot remember his name.
Yeah, I don't think I've got that one. Yeah, no, I do want that one. I can't remember the names. The names are ridiculous. Like, so who have I got in front of me here?
What about G2 Windbreaker? You can pair him up with that toilet roll.
I'll just point out the toilet roll. Hang on, I'm just going to change the camera, right? So the toilet roll.
Yeah.
This guy is King Toots, which does sound like something that you might get kicked out of a bar for calling someone. This one, which is apparently some kind of a frozen yogurt, is Frohawk.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to go through
this. These are just rejected McDonald's toys, aren't they?
They kind of are. This guy transforms into a torch. He's called Dimlit.
Okay. Yeah.
And this guy who is a sticky tape dispenser. Oh wait, wrong way around. The sticky tape dispenser. He is Sticky McGee.
Do all these names have TM next to it?
They do. They're all, look, I'm reading them off the sheet. They do have trademark signs next.
I just love the idea of Autobot Dimlit TM.
Well, so this is the thing about BotBots. So they're not Autobots or Decepticons.
Yeah.
I will point out that King Toots does have Autobot symbols on the back of him. That's not going to work on the camera. Really? He does have Autobot symbols on the back of him, but they're arranged in such a way that it looks like it's his toilet paper texture.
Does that make him a Decepticon then?
No, but it does explain why Megatron was happy to use it.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, yeah, like I know not everybody's keen on them. Some people sort of, I guess, it's that interesting case of before a bot's in hand, everybody sort of has to make their surface judgments. And a lot of people go, oh, they look a bit simple. Oh, they look a bit cheap. But when you see the pricing for them, you're getting exactly what you pay for. Exactly what you pay for. If you like the gimmick, you'll get into the gimmick. If you don't like the gimmick, then it's fine. Is that fries?
Basically, yes. Like he turns into fries. Like $5, sure.
Is he fries or is he like a tub of nachos?
Maybe he is more nachos. Like, so
if he's nachos, he might be my favorite robot ever.
Well, then, you know, like it's
you have to
like a bold call, but like no. So you have to transform them all. So like they're sort of there's no metal in them. Like everything is ball jointed. And so it all sort of like sits
Okay.
together, and they're all they're all sort of that sort of chunkier plastic. Plastic kind of stuff that it's like, who cares? It's $5. Like,
Okay, so that guy Jason, that is Shredder Jack.
He's on the other form. He's on the other one. Sorry, he's underneath Lolly Licks.
Shredder Jack is indeed.
There's Lolly Licks, and yes, that's Shredder Jack. You're correct.
Who is indeed is a container of nacho.
Yeah. This one is Ms. Take, who I'm not sure what Ms. Take actually transforms into.
A camera?
It's not an eraser, is it? Like an eraser
maybe,
for a...
Yeah, no, that makes sense, right? Like, because that's like the eraser, and that's why it's called Mistake.
Okay.
This dude who transforms into a plunger, like he's been in all the promotional shots. He's Clog Stopper.
Yep, that works.
This one transforms into the drink container. She's Sippy Slurps, and the last one that I have is, where is it? Oh, it must be on the other. Must be on the other one. Who's this? Oh, yes. Through no confluence of through by complete accident. In fact, this has been saved until the last. This the little unicorn that is a Unilla Ice Queen cone. Which, look, I will just point out, also sounds like a drag act.
most likely to make a guest appearance on a future episode of My Little Pony is Hasbro.
Very true.
That's
look,
amazing.
These guys are part of the shared Hasbroverse now, so they may well turn up in My Little Pony.
Excellent.
So yeah, look, I'm looking forward to BotBots. It sounds like you are too, Ash.
I definitely look forward to it.
They seem very like a huge nostalgia kick for the old McDonald's Happy Meal toys, but I can see a market for them. I don't think I'll be partaking.
Do you think if you put the McDonald's toys next to BotBots, they just blend in seamlessly, like they're supposed to be there?
No, I think Mac's toys are much bigger.
Yeah, so they're not actually that much bigger. Like, these guys are actually quite chunky, right? But they don't quite fit in as well. Mainly, I think because the Macca's toys all sort of look like old McDonald's things, whereas they don't sort of
have a farm.
They do.
Okay.
Yeah, on that farm they have a shut up, Brad. But
he's not even here this week, Jason.
Yes, no, that's right. No, look. Obviously, I'm looking forward to them, but yeah, no. As a matter of fact, if I scroll this page down slightly, so you can sort of see, like, there's like the McDonald's ones look a little bit more serious, whereas the BotBots are clearly intended to be fun and funny and big and chunky, right? So yeah. Let's go. There's one more piece of BotBots news.
But to say that apparently there is a new range of BotBots coming out, is there not?
There is. I like your linking style, Ash. So we always knew that the initial wave of BotBots was not going to be the whole thing. There are a couple of repaints in the second wave. It wouldn't be a Transformers line without some repaints, but God, they're cute still. Right?
Chainsaw. One of them is a chainsaw.
Yeah. The chainsaw guy's already out in wave 1. I think he's getting repainted in wave 2. But yeah, so the newer ones include a color changing gimmick. If I scroll down here far enough.
I was going to say, that's not the first time I've seen color changing in Transformers. So how does this one work? Is it heat? Is it water? Is it?
I am actually not sure. It's kind of interesting. Like, the whole line for wave 2 has a bit of a sort of a green and brown palette. Which I think the in fact, so looking at the packaging, right, it's not actually the whole thing. It's just there's 2 color change figures per 5-pack, it looks like. So
interesting.
Yeah, fair enough. It might well be one of the blind pack figures. And look at that, these guys have a little logo now. It's sort of it's almost like a Minicon crossed with an Autobot, or
it is.
In a way it kind of looks like Gordon Ramsay, but yeah.
You donkey! You burnt the risotto.
Yeah. Well, look. One of these guys will be the risotto, so I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. I feel sad that in that package there is actually a mixing bowl, a mixing device, and they can't use the name Mixmaster. It's already done.
True.
No, but I reckon they'll make a pun on KitchenAid somewhere.
Oh dear.
Would you be disappointed if they didn't? All right.
Yeah.
Let's move on. So we'll go back past the bots there, and we mentioned in the yeah. Well, look, before we actually get into this, we did mention earlier in the show some thoughts on Bumblebee. And we spent a long time talking about Bumblebee last week, but of course you guys weren't on the show last week. So let's take 5 minutes and have a bit of a chat about your thoughts on the movie. Like my impression of it is that like I think it's a good movie. I don't think it's a great movie, but I think it's good enough at the moment. And I would really like to hear your thoughts on it. Groovy guy, like, can we start with you?
You certainly can. I really, really enjoyed the movie. This is the first Transformers movie I've seen in the cinema where I've actually gone, "Oh my god, that's awesome!" Because there are huge like G1 nods. It was a really good story, good human characters, which is probably again a first that I've said for the live action movies. The action was good. It did good sort of establishing some of the things that were in the other Michael Bay movies, even though this is sort of in an ambiguous loop for the time being as to whether or not it's a prequel or a steady reboot. My money's going with the reboot because of some of the scenes that you saw in the movie. Yeah, I just really enjoyed it, and I thought it was very well told and very well executed.
Ash.
Now, I need to be careful with how I speak here because I have come off as passionate at times when it comes to this film.
You must be sure to present your argument with no emotion whatsoever.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
Vulcan.
I'm giving you the shockwave. Logical. The film definitely included characters.
Miserable.
Of all the Transformers films I have seen, this is definitely the most recent.
Correct. I think it's more interesting that I really quite enjoyed Bumblebee. I'll get that out of the way. I really did enjoy it as a film that I was worried that I wasn't going to see a Transformers film in my lifetime that I could just want to watch it again without fast forwarding parts of it. And I saw it with a couple of friends, and I saw it exceptionally early. As soon as I possibly could, I got an advanced screening down here in Launceston. Yes, they exist. Yes, we have cinemas.
Actually, I took the Friday off work and went and saw one of the first advanced screenings in Sydney.
I did actually sneak out during the day. I never actually told my boss why I was taking time off, and then I turned up to work wearing a Bumblebee t-shirt, and he sort of went, so, okay, never mind. But yeah, I think it's kind of interesting that a lot of people's criticisms of Bumblebee, they said to me that it didn't have enough action, or that there was too many human characters, and what they were describing to me is exactly why I enjoyed the film. And it meant that I've had to sort of make my points several times to the point where I've sort of managed to distill it down to a very basic analogy. The Michael Bay films are like junk food. You enjoy it, and it's not necessarily great for you, but yep, you enjoy it. Afterwards, you might feel a bit greasy, but you still enjoyed it when you were in the act of, partaking in it. Whereas Bumblebee feels like a more rounded meal. I don't feel greasy and weird after it. I don't feel like I've just been on like a thrill ride of 2.5 hours of explosions and, fart jokes and robot balls jokes and bro humor. I walk away from going, I feel enriched by the film. I go, that was good. It spoke to parts of me that I like being spoken to. I think it was a good film. I think it was a pretty good Transformers film. But overall, it's a great package. And I'd like to see more of it.
Well put. I would also look, despite the fact that I've sort of like gone out with a soft review, but like I said, it's good. I've given it an above average review. I've given it 3.5 out of 5 myself, and like it's certainly above average. And I'd certainly like to see more of it.
Something I do like to ask people is when it comes to you looking at all the live-action Transformers films that have come out since 2007, which one is your favorite? No judgments, just a question.
It's really hard to say because I don't really like to go back and revisit them.
You're asking us to go back through trauma.
They can be quite difficult to
It's
rewatch.
like your question is basically akin to like which horrific accident were you in that did you the least damage? So I'm going to give you an answer, and it's going to be a weird one.
It can include Bumblebee. I'm just saying you can include Bumblebee.
Well, I think it's unfair to include Bumblebee because it's automatically by default the best live action movie.
Yeah.
But prior to
objectively it is, yes.
Yeah. I think prior to that, I would probably say Age of Extinction.
I agree.
The reason I would go for Age of Extinction is actually because for the first time on the big screen, they actually had Cullen and Welker voicing Prime and Mega Galvatron. And I remember thinking in the cinema, I was just like, the voices are right, and I don't give a shit what they do.
Yep.
Like they can do anything they want then. So yeah, and like I kind of secretly enjoyed The Last Night for the same reason, because like I finally got to hear Welker say Decepticons retreat on the big screen, right?
Yes.
It was in many ways throwbacks to the cartoon.
The Last Night was creatively a disaster, but there are like it's the kind of film that I love watching the highlight clips on YouTube where people have like grabbed all the good scenes and put them together, and then I don't have to watch the parts that make me really, really upset. And what about you, Groovy guys? As far as the past films,
I would have to say first and Age of Extinction. Probably the first because you don't know any of the characters yet. You know, things are being established, and it sort of establishes things quite well. Like, you know, with Megatron and all the reverse engineering and him being the Iceman and Sam Witwicky's family sort of being interlinked, and it's all, you know, sort of all very well.
His great-grandfather pushing people through snow to die, but no retreat, no surrender.
And it's all fairly well
Who doesn't
integrated.
have a few black sheeps in the family?
Yeah, I know.
I'm the black sheep of the family.
No, I agree. No, I quite enjoyed it. But yeah, for me, definitely I agree. Age of Extinction was definitely a great film for me specifically, because it was the first time we started to see Transformers with actual realized personalities and traits that give them character. Some people don't like Crosshairs, some people don't like Drift. I think most people like Hound, but at least they were characters, because the previous films treated Transformers a little bit like props. Like they weren't a character. They were a giant moving set piece that things happened around, and that's what always got my transforming goat.
Yeah.
Well, I think Age of Extinction also saw the sort of first step towards evolution away from like just the crapshoot that was just bits of metal twisted around all of these figures, towards actually having a more recognizable shape to all of the character designs. They started giving each of the characters their own distinct shape and color, and it made a lot of the action a lot easier to recognize. And that's also something that people praise Bumblebee for, is because you've got a yellow, a red, and a blue Transformer, and it's really easy to follow.
If I was to list the things about Bumblebee that I would praise the most, easily in the top 3 would be the fact that for the first time, recognizable characters. Directly opposite that, for criticisms, it is a real pain that we have these amazing characters, but they're never actually introduced to us in a way that we know who they are. Like, we've seen the
interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, we know that they're Dropkick and Shatter, but there's nowhere that, you know, Shatter goes, hey, Dropkick, yes, Shatter? Or, you know, Cliffjumper goes, Dropkick and Shatter, you know, oh, you'll never take me out. But it never happens. It's such a strange thing, but they're easily recognizable. They have personalities. They seem to actually enjoy working together and doing what they do. And that's great. They're characters. They're not just robots.
There's a couple of things that look, since we're talking about things that may have been excised from the film. Let's draw some attention through to the item that we actually currently have on screen. There's a bunch of concept art has seen the light of day this week. over the last few weeks, we've heard a couple of reports on things that changed between Bumblebee's test screenings midway through last year and now.
Some great notes here that I'd love to go through with you.
Yeah.
Having a look at some of the artwork first. The one thing I'd like to note, I mean, obviously starting off here, if you're in control here, Jason, we're having a look at ourselves at Decepticon Warrior. The artist here is Joshua Vierce, who's actually worked on a couple of other larger films. Apparently worked as an auxiliary on Pacific Rim, but the thing that
I could totally see that here. Right?
Yeah, the thing that strikes me interestingly about this art is just like usually the concept art sort of vaguely resembles the finished product. This stuff is so different, massively different.
I think, look, there's a lot of discussion around a massive shift during the production of the movie, and I mean, look, we saw this with last night, right? Remember, we saw an Optimus Primal concept art for the last night, and like that was never in the movie, and so like this happens a lot on feature films. Like they will hire artists to visualize things, and some of them will end up left on the cutting room floor. I think it's interesting though that when you look at this, you can sort of see, like if you blur your eyes and tilt your head, you can sort of see the genesis of Shatter.
Okay, I was going to say
Shatter or is it Dropkick? Because I mean, I'm seeing parts of the chopper in there.
Yeah.
Well, so it's more the car bonnet for the chest.
True.
But yeah, I mean, look, both of them have a similar thing, but the facial structure or lack thereof is a bit interesting. He actually looks a bit like Lugnut from Animated.
Yeah,
he's gonna kneel down and start praising Megatron any minute.
Handsome bloke, that Lugnut. The interesting thing, you're actually seeing obviously if you've seen the toy packaging for Shatter and Dropkick, Shatter in almost like out of the 3 or 4 toys that are currently out, 3 of them show her with her battle mask on, which is very much what that last piece of artwork looks like. This really sort of odd dome that covers the face entirely. So,
yeah,
I kind of find. I'm gonna say this, and I'm probably gonna regret it immediately. I don't really like this prevalence of battle masks in Transformersdom the last. I'm gonna say decade, right? And I kind of blame Animated for it, because Animated felt it necessary to explain Optimus Prime's faceplate away as being a battle mask, and let him lower it and start talking to people as normal. Although maybe it's not Animated's fault, it might also actually just be the Bay movies.
Wars, remember? Beast Wars, remember, he sort of had a similar thing, and it would close.
Yeah, Optimus Primal had. Oh, the toys had the mutant mask.
But now,
Optimus Primal also had the thing, and I think
now
the first movie
got a battle mask.
The first movie actually was out before Animated, wasn't it? And that had Optimus Prime with or without a mouth. I mean,
yeah, I think it is the movie, in fact, but Animated picked it up.
The movie.
I think Animated was cut short because of Revenge of the Fallen.
Yeah, I think
Animated came after first episode. That was 26th of December 2007 for Transformers Animated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and the film
was a few months before.
There you go. Yeah. So yeah, I guess Transformers Animated was to capitalize on the popularity of Transformers post-film.
Yeah, certainly was. Let's keep going here. We've got Ranger now. I think Ranger is the guy who sort of ended up evolving into Dropkick. You can certainly see like the canopy and stuff there.
The cockpit chest. The thing I like here is you see that there's a weapon that isn't actually built into the hand. There's not a lot of that sort of in the live action films. There's a lot of sort of my hand will turn into the gun. You know, Bumblebee's the main offender of that. But
yeah,
I do like just seeing sort of there is a weapon there.
I look at this guy and I see more Animated. I see Lockdown.
Yep, me too.
Actually, you know what? It might not be Lockdown. It might actually be Oil Slick.
Could be.
Oh, based off the Revenge of the Fallen toy.
No, the animated toy.
The
animated figure. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Generations Whirl.
Yes.
I kind of am, except like I need my world to be like massively homicidal.
Yeah, one eye,
claw hands, and the 3-pronged feet. Do you think that the thing I find interesting about this design? I think you see a close up later. Is there you go. The face, the mouth.
Like
the mouth literally looks like one of those things that's used to like remove rust.
Look, he's a Decepticon warrior. He's also really good if you arm him with Tarnoff. Okay.
Do you know what his actual name is? Buffer.
Buffer.
No, apparently he's Ranger. according to
No, that's
this.
his class. His real name's Buffer.
Yes, fair enough. Ranger rough body type V2 date 2017. That's quite telling as well.
Well, there we go.
So look, we might pick up the pace a little bit on these.
This is an interesting design.
What the heck is that?
It's a
I'm
warthog.
getting a massive Warframe vibe from that. But anyway.
Fair enough.
But isn't it interesting seeing a transformer with an alt mode of a plane, but instead of it being like it's really asymmetrical, like the idea that they transform sideways is so different and unique, and I actually quite like that idea.
Yeah.
Well, this is something that we talked about last week, I think, very briefly with Max. Is that I can appreciate the similarity between like Starscream and the Seekers and their Cybertronian scenes and Blitzwing on Earth, because like if you're like I can appreciate that as a race, Transformers may well have just gotten to the point where they're like, you transform into a plane, therefore you move this around here and do this, and so like you all have similar attributes because you all transform into planes, but your bits are different. Because like if you put Blitzwing next to Starscream, like because they do have a different alt mode, like you can see that the intake vents look different. They're in a different spot, but the design is still the same. Like the canopy folds down and things that go around there. It's like I can see that sort of as a useful evolution in the species. It's like jets do this, cars do that. Exactly.
Sort of like the cars, the whole hood being the chest thing is very, very common. So similar thing with planes.
Yeah, very much.
There you go. There's your whirl legs.
You're right, actually, and there's the whirl face on that too, and there's also the massive. This is whirl.
Yeah.
Obviously whirl.
Yeah. Oh wow, yeah. So there's a lot of interesting.
Oh, what the hell is that?
There's another one of those weird sort of it's instead of having the weird asymmetric sideways plane transformation.
Yeah. It's like
I'm not a fan of how that's presented, but I think it could be done well.
So this does sort of call to mind one of the things that we were talking about in possible deleted scenes, which is that there's a scene apparently that was cut from the movie where all of Charlie's appliances come to life, and when Charlie gets home, having been called home by Mimo, she and Bumblebee need to fight them all off. And this was removed from the movie, but it does explain why the power cord to the television was cut later on.
Yeah, it's a very, very pointed piece of dialogue there going, why did she cut the power cord? Here we go. This is some very obvious beginnings of Dropkick, in my opinion. Yeah,
I think so. I still don't like the fact that some of the head designs are just so complicated with these weird things around the mouth. Like I don't like Bumblebee's mouth design in the movie at all.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of that, and it is very reminiscent of the 2007 film. It's sort of a bit of a relic of it, in my opinion.
I do find Shatter and Dropkick the most sort of they're very sort of like I don't know what the word is. They just feel out of place. I feel like their designs are just they're way too Bay movie versus G1.
That's actually a point that I made to a friend of mine. One of the first things I said upon leaving the film, apart from wow, I really enjoyed that, was it's interesting how the film really establishes this sort of G1 familiarity where it's like, hey, do you guys remember all these great guys and they all look just like they did, only better? And then the bad guys of the film, like the villains, looks so much like the designs from previous films that I was like, I'm not one to read deeply into things that probably aren't there, but it would be very easy to say that maybe Travis Knight was trying to say something.
Demons of the past.
These are the enemies, but no, I don't think he's quite that cruel, but
maybe. Let's accelerate a little bit through here. There's a lot of battle masks, which is why I made the point earlier about like I don't know that I really like the idea that whenever Bumblebee goes into battle, he's got an automatic battle mask. You can see that sort of
turns into Waspinator.
Yeah, have you seen there was actually a Digibash where somebody's actually turned the battle mask Bumblebee green and spitting image of Waspinator. For me personally, in the earlier films when he had his battle mask, it seemed a bit goofy. He didn't really seem to do much. The thing I liked about Bumblebee as a film is that obviously he used it in combat, but there was also these moments where, like, when he was scanning alt modes, that's when his mask would come down. So it did seem to have a bit more of a technical sense. It wasn't just an appendage. It was a bit like having Yeah, it's like he actually had goggles. You never saw him scan something without clink. Okay, that will happen. Here we go.
Well,
Old
yeah,
mate Blitzwing.
maybe some of the circuitry to perform the scanning is actually not built into his optic systems, but in an additional piece of hardware. So yeah. So this is looking way more like what we saw on screen. Now this is by Mark Yang. We've moved on from Josh Veers. So Mark Yang's designs seem a little bit more like what we saw in the movie. Still like a little bit evolved from here, but very, very close.
I do like it has a very very sort of old school, new school kind of look. But the thing that I find interesting, and I've been reading it more and more. Again, I don't have a credible source for this, but it is something I do like to share with people. But obviously, there's been the whole argument debate of that's obviously Starscream. But apparently in pre-visualization for the film, this character that we've come to know as Bumblebee Blitzwing was referred to as Ramjet.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So
too.
I heard that a long time ago, and it seemed to go away. I think that theory went away when Travis Knight got on stage at, I think it was SDCC, and said it's Blitzwing. But I do recall hearing something like that earlier.
The other thing I've heard is that there was a push for it to be Blitzwing because there was interest from the marketing team to actually have redecoed tank toys released for the film. Hence why there is a redecoed Megatron named Blitzwing, though Blitzwing himself never turns into a tank in the film. Now,
so look, it is interesting to also consider that we've given Bumblebee props for being so focused on G1, but this is totally not a G1 Blitzwing.
This one is such a miss. It's just like we've seen all these incredible G1 things that are like spot on. Like even Brawn has his big helmet on and looks ridiculous, and then like Blitzwing is just got that wrong.
But the toy of this character actually has the animated crazy face as well. Which
really?
Yeah. It's actually like, there are pictures of the toy, and it looks like this that we're seeing now, but it actually has red light piping, which actually turns into what looks like the crazy face from animated.
See, that's a toy designer having fun. That's what that is.
It is. I'm gonna move a little bit beyond here, and so
we're seeing some pre-visualization for the actual film at this point, which is really cool. Again, fantastic scene, seeing triple changes actually change in a triple sense.
Well, so this is actually really interesting, because this is actually way darker than it was ever presented in the film as well. And I actually really appreciate just the composition of this this visual. And also maybe it's because I watched a lot of Twin Peaks last year, but the power lines look like they're plotting something.
It's actually they're actually Soundwave from G1.
Yes. So Bumblebee Vietnam Chase V3. What?
Yeah. Now, interestingly enough, what you're seeing here is that's Bumblebee's design from the last night when he was doing the whole Nazi sequence. You see the hammer on his back?
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
And this does tie into another thing that was mentioned regarding the original version of Bumblebee as a film, is that apparently the initial film actually started with Bumblebee. There was the actual voice actor for Bumblebee was always planned. It wasn't something that was added. Doing a short sort of narration. Remember the original Transformers film, The Cube. He was doing a bit of a thing explaining about how he had been on Earth for a while and was constantly being chased. And apparently there was actually a video sequence of just him fleeing. It was just trying to really hit the home of I'm here, but I'm being chased down by the military, which ties into the idea that, John Cena's character was a lot more of a hard-ass Transformer hunter.
Yeah, that does. It does. I look, I haven't looked at too much of these here, but look, let's talk about this shot that's up now, right? We've heard, and this does this kind of contradicts what we've been told. We've been told that originally at the end of the movie, the Sector 7 guys were to like turn to each other and just go, well, that Bumblebee and Optimus Prime, like they're never to be told about our sort of secret NBE-01, right?
NBO1, yeah.
NBO1, and then it would pan along and you would see a G1 style Megatron on ice, which does tie into the plot of the original Bay movies, but obviously with Megatron taking on a different more 80s accurate form, it's a little bit different. But this is definitely not a G1 Megatron.
No. I mean, if you were to show me this in a vacuum without seeing Bumblebee, I'd be like, wow, Omega Supreme.
Yeah, it does look very, very. Looks like his IDW stealth bomber.
Yeah, actually, I completely see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. There's so look, whether or not this is actually intended to be the Megatron on ice or not, look, we're never going to know. This is obviously a very different setting. This is in a hangar, whereas Sector 7 in the movie was far more sort of underground. Although there is sort of the sort of like the towers and the wires on either side that look like they've been enhanced by Shatter and Dropkick. So
also in the film proper, Megatron is sort of ambiguous. Like you don't see him.
You don't see him. You don't hear about him. Nobody mentions him.
Yeah, the two Decepticons never, like when they're linked up, they never see any of these Sector 7 files regarding NBE-01.
That's a good point.
It's an exceptional point. Yeah, I mean that does sort of lead towards. I mean, if we get to discuss it at some point, whether or not it is considered a reboot or a prequel, I mean that's the can of worms that needs to be opened, but not right now.
Yeah.
Well, that is actually going to come up in a few minutes, but let's sort of flick through the remainder of these.
I reckon I could see an entire slideshow of Bumblebee just fleeing through different environments. Like
that'd be great. Yes,
I've got
Bumblebee
Photoshop
and the narrow mist.
Yeah,
just play some Benny Hill music and just have Bumblebee running away from choppers in different places. It'll be fantastic.
You could probably do that with the 6 movies as they are. Just take all the Bumblebee chase scenes.
There we go.
There you go. Yeah.
Next big Transformers meme will be Bumble Benny Hill. There you go.
Now, just quickly before we do move on, this to me looks like it's actually meant to be the G1 Megatron kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like he's on ice.
I would love to know if there ever was some proper concept art done for. I mean, we've seen how Optimus Prime looked in the film. This G1 sort of esque, it was reimagined. Like this is the G1 if the movie's got a hold of him. I'd love to see if we saw that previous drawing of Blitzwing. I'd love to see art like that of how G1 Bumblebee Megatron would look.
Yeah. So
his Bumblebee's appendage. And yes, some living clock radios.
The army of clock radios.
The interesting thing is that that's actually the clock that we see at the start when Harley Stenfeld's character Charlie actually turns it off.
Yeah. So lend some credence to the devices in the house.
The thing I love is that the bottom part of the shot; those are practical effects. That like the bottom of the shot; those have been built, and you see the tab can in the top left.
Yeah.
I don't think they are.
You don't think they are?
No, I don't think they are. I think the screens look a bit too fake, and I think the dials look a little bit too fake. And also, I know that we did see a CG tab can in the movie because Bumblebee tore it to pieces. So, I don't think these are actually. I don't think these are physical effects. I think these are CG.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jason. If you ever see him on eBay as the ultimate collector's item from Bumblebee, I mean, you can eat your words, or you can just buy me one because I love it.
I'm actually going to go out to the op shop and buy a bunch of clock radios and see what I can do.
Just get some pipe cleaners. You'll be halfway there.
Yeah.
See, these look fairly photorealistic. These shots, which is why I think that was actually just a very nicely lit CG
composite.
Shot. Yeah.
Now, here's another interesting thing. Obviously, the Jeeps at the start of the film, they're all, like, everyone says that the original start of the film was Bumblebee already being chased through the forest, which explains why the Humvees present for the paintball exercise come equipped with harpoon launchers.
Look, you can never tell when someone's going to get a little bit unruly.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, hands up everybody who's a member of the American military here and could explain it. No, okay. Well, I guess that'll just be a grand mystery. It could be standard issue on Humvees over there. I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe it's standard issue military. Who knows?
I do like the practical effect before that they actually have the harpoon launcher mounted between two giant machine guns.
Yeah. if the bullets don't get you, the harpoon will.
They were sick of having to charge at people to stick the bayonet into them. They just decided to turn the bayonet into a fired harpoon.
Maybe it's just that the guns will get you, but if you get too close, the harpoon will get you.
We don't stand for people putting their fingers in and going for the reverse combustion theory here.
No Looney Tunes theories.
Oh,
it's an eyeball. Yeah.
It's an eyeball. It's a Bumble eyeball.
All right, look, let's move on from the concept art. We also slipped in this dude.
That's a really good concept art.
Yeah, that's a fully
it's-
CGI Travis Knight.
It's very,
Yeah.
it's very.
Actually, was actually directed by Michael Bay, but post production they actually replaced him with Travis Knight.
He actually looks
they actually
lifelike.
digitally replaced him. So Travis Knight and Lorenzo de Bonaventura and a bunch of people involved with the discussion, with the production, have all been out giving their 2 cents on things this week, and actually the last couple of weeks really, on whether or not Bumblebee is or is not a reboot.
Bumblebee,
Now,
reboot or prequel? The debate.
Well, this is part 4,792
Correct.
of this debate. It just
There is a different
goes
chapter
on
literally every week. I've been hearing reports from
every
the janitor
hour.
that worked on set. The mother of the dog walker for Hailey Steinfeld has their 2 cents. It's an ongoing discussion.
I would actually like to hear from the mother of the dog walker's sister, because I think she brings a unique perspective to things.
Correct.
So Travis Knight and the question of continuity came out this week and just sort of had a bit of a dig at Bay and said that he did not think that continuity was big on Michael Bay's radar. I can't remember what the exact words were, but it's just that he didn't think that continuity was very important. And a lot has been said about whether or not Bumblebee breaks continuity, and I don't really know why anyone cares, because all of the Bay films broke their own previous
We want to forget the
continuity.
trauma, Jason. We want to forget the trauma.
No, but this is the thing, right? It doesn't matter whether it breaks the previous continuity or not, because the next movie could well do it as well. Like it's been a constant thing over 6 films. There's been only the most cursory of adherence to continuity. And it is really interesting to see people like really trying to bend things into the narrative that they want in order to justify the position that they want to take. De Bonaventura has been very famously coming out and saying that no, the movie is totally 100% a prequel and not a reboot. The Autobots go back to Cybertron, they regroup, they retake Cybertron, and then they arrive back on Earth in 2007. It's like, that's stupid.
I mean, he's confirming a lot of things that literally don't exist. He's talking about narrative points that are not represented in any way. Like, those things haven't happened. This is the important thing is obviously to point out what a producer is.
Yes.
They don't write the stories. They don't direct the stories. They are cursorily involved in the stories because they are part of the movie making process. The interesting thing that I find is that he would have been the smartest choice would have been to completely skirt the question. Why answer it? People are talking about your product. People are debating your product, and it's healthy. Like, people weren't yelling at each other about it. It was, do you think it is? I don't know. It could be. It might not be. And all he's done is tell half those people to shut up. It's terrible.
But all he's managed to do is, he's taken that low-level background discussion and he's amped it up, where people are like, "Holy shit! Did you see what he said?" And so people are talking about Bumblebee, but I feel like his attitude towards getting people to talk about Bumblebee is, I don't care what they're saying, I just want them to talk about it. But I think that's kind of a naive way of looking at publicity for your movie these days, which is that there's no such thing as bad press. I think there is such a thing as bad press, and I think he's getting it, whether he actually realizes or not. Like, there are people like Max made the comment when he posted some of those comments in the group. He said, look, Bonaventura is a hack and you shouldn't listen to anything that comes out of his mouth. But also, the thing is that he is also actually, and he's not just a producer on Transformers, like, he's the series producer, right? So he does have a little bit more, he has a little bit more skin in the game as to whether or not this is actually a reboot or a prequel. And I still think that there's this desire to cling to the idea that it's actually just a prequel and that they can go back and continue their Unicron story. Because he's also said that, sometime in the next, sort of 3 to 4 years, there will be another major Transformers movie, which implies that Bumblebee is not a major Transformers movie.
So, okay. Third party, groovy guy, reboot, prequel. Which is it?
I would have to go along the side of reboot.
Cool. I'm going to call Lorenzo Ventura and tell him that what you said.
Potential spoiler alert. I don't know. People who haven't seen the Bumblebee movie, you're obviously not a real Transformers fan anyway.
Whoa.
But I kid because I love, and I would love to talk about the Bumblebee movie. I think what's established at the end of this movie with, Bumblebee's mission was to go to Earth and see if it would be a viable energon source. Bumblebee establishes that. He protects it from the Decepticons. He prevents them from sending off their message for the time being. And then at the end of the movie, Optimus Prime is there on Earth himself. He's not like a holographic projection or anything, and he's congratulating Bumblebee for establishing this base. And then you look up and you see all these protoform Autobots. Yeah, you see them all coming down. And I don't think you're going to be able to explain that away as they come down, they establish a base, and then they bugger off. And then they say, oh, hang on, this really important thing called the Allspark that, gives life and can save our planet. That was actually where we were just then. So we might want to, turn around, go back. So
no, we left the Allspark. Quick, turn around.
Oh, crikey, we left the Allspark there. Got to get back sometime.
They drove off from the base and left it on the bonnet of the car.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, and I'm hoping, reboot.
See, now I have a couple of things here, some notes that I put down. Now, I'm not going to say that Lorenzo Di Bonaventura is a hack. I think that's a bit rough.
But he's a hack.
You can take it up with Max. That's okay.
Yeah, but what I will say is that he has made mistakes in the past, and he has also said things without consulting the credible sources. He was a producer on Man on a Ledge, and for the entire period of him promoting that film, he kept quoting the wrong script to people talking about things. I mean, it's simple things to make. Now, the interesting thing is, obviously, we were talking before about stuff that was changed, removed, added to the film, because, we mentioned, obviously, all the Cybertron stuff. Wasn't in the film. That's been added. Apparently, the only thing that we saw beforehand was holographic Optimus. That was it.
Yeah.
The film started with, Agent Burns, John Cena's character, being a seasoned Transformers hunter. Like, he's been doing it for years. His friend died, and now he's hunting them down. That's my military man impersonation. But the interesting thing I find is that
I was going to say, your military man does sound like the Penguin.
Al Capone.
Well, if you want to get the Penguin involved, I'll watch it. But the interesting thing is that from what I can see, they appear to have taken all of these big things and changed them as if they were trying to make the movie into this weird almost reboot. Like, there's still parts of it there, but it's almost like they were testing the waters. Like, what if it was a reboot, somebody said? And everyone went, do we have to aggressively reboot it? It's like, well, the film doesn't have to start with, like, a picture of Michael Bay falling into a toilet. Like, it can just be a film that isn't 100% tied to it. So there's all these little things that say it isn't, but it is. Your point about Dropkick and Shatter, they accessed all of the knowledge. They would have seen that Megatron was there.
Yeah.
They would have known. They would have gone, hey,
gone and woken him up.
Stuff messaging everyone else. We'll get Boss Man online. It'll be fine. And there's lots of little details. Like, obviously, if the Transformers, have such issue leaving Earth, it's such a big thing. They're always in a spaceship, or Optimus has to grow rocket boots. Megatron has to talk to the US government in the last night and actually get some of his mates out of prison because all I want to do is go home.
Yeah.
If they have such simple ways of going home and coming back and all the rest of it, then yes, NB7 Bumblebee, we will go to Earth and you will make a base there and we'll hang out for a bit. We'll kick it in the 80s because it's rad.
I didn't see Beast Wars Megatron in the movie.
Yeah. We'll leave the 90s because it gets a bit weird. And then we'll come back in 2007 and learn English from the World Wide Web. And it feels like part of the creative process was, let's make it kind of a reboot, because then if it's popular, we'll reboot the heck out of it because it might revitalize the franchise. Then Lorenzo's like, no, it's not a reboot. And you get back to the people in marketing be like, Lorenzo,
shut up.
Stop it. Just say nothing.
They will not be silenced.
They're sort of treating like Lorenzo's like the dog. Stop it. Put it down.
Yep. Just stop it.
Drop it. Don't make me come over there.
Put down that controversial topic. Drop it.
Exactly. I suppose the point I'm trying to make is that Paramount could literally have had it both ways. There was nothing stopping them. They could have just gone, oh well, it was a massive flop.
There's still nothing stopping them.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Much like Travis Knight saying that Michael Bay played fast and loose with continuity. There was a lot of questions. There was a lot of things unanswered. Anyone remember Galvatron magically turning into Megatron between?
No, because I didn't see it.
He just walks off at the end of Age of Extinction saying, "I am reborn."
Then literally walks into the Chinese wilderness.
Yeah.
Gonna go hang out in the mountains and come back at night with a sword. Like, cool.
Yeah.
My goodness, I've got a podcast with 2 voice actors.
But yeah, it's fantastic. I still think they can still have it both ways. All the people that are like acting as if Lorenzo's saying it's a prequel, it's like some kind of victory. Nobody actually wins. It's
it's kind of weird though, right? Like I don't see anyone who's actually happy at him saying that it's a prequel. Everyone's just like, stop it. Nobody cares.
I honestly,
I
think that if the next movie sort of connects the dots between Bumblebee and the already existing 5 movies, everyone's just going to go, oh, for fuck's sake, we were almost free and you pull us back in. Just let it go.
It just means that the film after that will be set in the 70s, and it will be even more ambiguous, and it'll have Sideswipe coming to Earth.
So two things, right? I feel like people are bending over backwards to link continuities together, and they're coming up with enormous, complicated flights of fancy in order to make what they want of the situation.
Simmons was at the base.
Yeah, Simmons was there, but that's fine. It can be a reboot and have Simmons, right?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Not everything in the Bay films is bad. Simmons was great.
Yeah. Look, this is the thing. The term I've been using is remix, right? Like it's a reboot. Yeah. It's taking elements and it's remixing them. I would very much. The lengths that people are going to like connect things up and explain away things that they perceive as plot holes and problems. It reminds me a lot of Star Wars fans between trilogies.
Yes.
Like, let's figure out how to explain how Boba Fett gets his helmet. Right. So I'm going to come up with like 100-page story in 3 parts, and I'm going to publish it on Usenet page by page over the course of 4 months. Right? Like, this is how I'm going to do it.
Boba Fan 99.
Yep. Boba Fan 99. I think he's on Reddit these days. But like, it's that kind of thing. It's like people are going to an enormous amount of effort, including some people who are involved with the production, Lorenzo, just to link this stuff up. And it doesn't need to be linked. Just leave it alone. People will draw their own conclusions, and you should let people draw their own conclusions. That's
give it like a more organic sort of feel.
Yeah. The funny thing is that if you explain everything, there's no room left for imagination.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it.
Mm. Second thing I want to call it right now. So there is now, look, there's been a lot of discussion over whether or not Bumblebee is going to actually make money. It has gotten to a point where Paramount is now claiming that the Bumblebee movie is making money. It's broken about $300 million. It cost 120 something to make, plus some marketing, and so they're happy. 300 million, they're happy, and so
and it has to a huge thank you to China for getting real.
Yeah, I thought as soon as it was released in China, like in day one of its China release, everyone's like, "Yep, this is this."
Yeah, it's made money.
It performed better against Aquaman in China.
Yeah, turns out China's not that big on Aquaman. Yeah,
sorry, Jason Momoa. It's nothing against you, mate.
Yeah.
You should voice Sea Spray in the Bumblebee sequel. Just to turn the water thing full circle. I'll be cool with it.
So I want to call this right. Like they are now talking about Bumblebee 2, which
Bumblebee Tuna.
Well, Bumblebee Tuna can be played by Jason Momoa. So I'm going to say Bumblebee 2. It's going to be set in the 90s. Right?
I'd be okay with that.
They've done an 80s movie. They're going to do a 90s movie, right?
Give me tons of Nickelodeon references, please. I'll be cool with it.
I don't know if they're legally allowed to do that. They might have to be Cartoon Network references.
Cartoon Network was big in the 90s too. That'd be fine. We could do that. We can.
What do you foresee happening in this 90s movie, Jason? Take us on your journey.
What's the most 90s thing that'll happen in Bumblebee the 90s?
I don't know, but like I see. Hey, yeah, no, I see lots of opportunity music-wise, and I did feel like they were sort of out there with the music on the 80s going, right, yeah, we've got all this great music from the 80s, but I feel like a lot of the great music from the 80s has already been licensed, and they were sort of like picking through the dregs of it. Like there's some good songs in there, but I don't feel like they were like intrinsically linked to Bumblebee. I felt it was just sort of like, here's a list of things that is available to license. They're like, yes, no.
Well, Sammy Hagar, I Can't Drive 55. That's from Back to the Future too. That's got some, which is also set in the 80s. Actually, oh my God, my head just blew up.
Speaking Bumblebee music, there is one gripe that I have to share. Everyone applauds the fact that Stan Bush's The Touch gets a very brief little part in there.
Yeah.
But I think it is ridiculous, and I think it is absurd that we live in a world where they couldn't have just had Stan Bush's Dare available in its entirety for the kids through the tunnel. It could have been there. It could have just been the backing track. We could have had the whole thing. I'm pretty sure when the Blu-ray comes out, I'm going to dub that in. I'm going to watch it by myself, alone, in my underpants. I'm going to be very happy, and then I might put it on YouTube and get a copy.
I was happy until I picked you in your underpants.
Well, my Bumblebee underpants, it's a thing. I like Bumblebee. It's okay. It's okay. But yeah, I think the one thing that we can take away from the Bumblebee film is, regardless if it's a prequel, if it's a reboot, I love the term remix. I think we should stick with that. It's got me excited for Transformers films again.
Yeah.
Hopefully the next one will maintain that.
Yep. After the last night, I was prepared to not see another live-action Transformers film in cinemas.
Oh, yes.
Bumblebee dragged me back in, boys.
there was one other thing that I wanted to say about the use of Dare.
Yes.
As someone who has recently seen it performed live.
Now you're just showing off.
Damn, it was good. But yes. The thing is, I'm not sure that it's actually. I'm not sure that I would have liked to see it on the tunnel chase, because like the tunnel chase as it was played more for comedy. But yeah, I don't know. True. Anyway, look, I think we spent a long time talking about Bumblebee, and
I've just been looking at this picture of Travis Knight and Bumblebee the whole time. I'm kind of like, the car looks like it has more personality.
The thing I find hilarious is that on the left-hand side, in front of the car, it says Travis Knight, director, and then on the right-hand side, in front of it, says Bumblebee. Again,
you got the names wrong, right?
Only their mothers can tell them apart.
That's why he felt such an affinity with the character. He likes to moonlight as Bumblebee on weekends.
I want to point this out as well, and I think you'll appreciate this, Ash. Why is it that in one frame we're looking at least 3 fonts?
Yeah, please.
Travis Knight, director, and Bumblebee. They're all in different fonts. It's like, what the fuck happened to consistency?
Professional graphic designer for many years. Hurts me.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, who made these lower thirds? And also, like, the italicization on Travis Knight and director is not matching as well.
It's different.
No, it's not. Maybe his title changed. Maybe he was like, originally like the operator of the craft services table, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to be director?" Like, yeah, all right. Oh shit, better put it over then.
Yes, we're talking fonts, ladies and gentlemen. Listeners, if you're exceptionally bored, Google kerning. Correct your decision.
Stop! You're turning me on.
Well, I should also say that Bumble and Bee both look a bit different too. Bee looks like it's got more shininess on it.
Yes, yeah.
Well, I think hard questions here.
I think at least the font is the same across that. Although I did also, I asked. Look, there are people who can confirm that I did ask this question in the cinema. Why is it that the on-screen Bumblebee logo doesn't look a thing like the one that's on the poster? Like, it's literally one word.
Why is it
was not that hard?
Every film that's ever come out has the logo from the movie does not match the logo from the poster.
No, it's like it is the easiest thing to do.
Marketing teams don't talk to each other. That's the problem.
Maybe they had all their stuff printed before they did the test screenings.
Somebody got fired over that decision.
No, actually, yeah, they printed everything and then they did the test screenings, and people are like, "What the hell's with that logo?" Oh shit, we need to redo that. Okay. All right, look,
Yeah.
I think it's enough Bumblebee for this week. I'm going to.
Please join us next week when we go into chapter 47 of Is It a Prequel or a Reboot?
We might also talk about
could
wingdings to get you excited.
Oh my goodness.
Hot font minute.
Oh yeah.
Groovy guy, do you not know that Webdings is where it's at these days?
Oh yeah, man. Tell me about it.
Custom fonts. Like,
Yeah.
you got to download your WAF.
The Pornhub section on wingdings. That's where it's at, bro.
Download your WAF.
Download your WAF. Like, you can get them all at like Font Hub or something like that. I don't know.
Not to be confused with other hubs.
No, Font Hub Red.
Oh yeah.
FontTube, whatever. Okay, look, we've spent way too long talking about stuff, but I do want to talk about your collections, your collecting habits a little bit. Ash, I know you're really keen to tell us what your favorite figure of the last year was. So how about let's start this off by telling us a little bit about what you collect, and then you can tell us what you're especially proud of in your collection there.
Absolutely. Well, to give you the Reader's Digest version, effectively, I just started collecting basically anything that transformed because just one day it occurred to me, hey, I have a disposable income and I like Transformers. Why didn't I start this earlier?
I'm also so cursed.
And it happened right about when I went to Supernova and I met some gentlemen at a table that was titled TCCA. In fact, that's where I met you, sir.
It is.
We discussed the fact that I had a Generations Drift for sale. So
I know. I've still got it up on the shelf somewhere. Excellent. He's over there. Yeah.
He's there. But obviously, as my collection sort of shifted, you sort of start by buying cheap things at Kmart, and then you sort of want something a little bit more interesting. And then I discovered Masterpiece Scale. So it means that my collection nowadays is mostly based around Masterpiece Scale, quality figures, things that I feel that, like, if something horrible was to happen and I sold my collection, I'd get at least a return on it to some point. People don't want one-step changes from Kmart. Let's be real, guys. It's just... those go to the op shop.
I need to reconsider my bot purchases. Awkward.
They have value to the heart, sir. So in that case, as you can see, right over here is my Masterpiece collection. And in doing so, I will grab my favorite figure of 2018. Now, the 2018 has come to a wrap.
Oh, wow. Okay, yes.
It is indeed Fans Toys Rouge. As everyone knows, is not RC. But is RC, but is not RC. Now, the main reason I like this figure, I'll be honest, a lot of issues. It has weird weighting problems. The transformation is terrifying. Not hard, just terrifying. There's lots of little bits that you're like, if I put even just one more slight piece of effort into this, I'm going to break it. But the main reason that I love this figure is for one very particular reason that I will share with you now, is the world's quickest story. My father actually went to the US last year. He went over there for several months because he was purchasing motorbikes to bring back to Australia. And at one point, he was in Phoenix, Arizona. And he asked me, he says, hey, before I come back, is there anything you want to collect? Do you want me to pick up for you? And I was like, there's not really anything in America that I... Phoenix, Arizona, you say. Now, for those that are uninitiated, Phoenix, Arizona is the home, the shop front for the Chosen Prime online web store. Yeah, for buying Transformers. So what actually happened was...
It's actually hilarious because I thought the Chosen Prime was in Singapore. I know my Primus is, but yeah.
Apparently they've got a warehouse there and there's people there. So my father, who resembles a Viking, I might add. He looks like me, except with much longer hair and it's grey and he looks like a warrior. Was instructed to go
to the Nordic Whalings.
Yes, precisely. Of the Tasmanian frozen wastes. He was instructed to go to the Chosen Prime, to which I had organized this figure to pick it up for me. Now, my father's only really just sort of becoming interested in the fact that, like, he thought my Transformers was a bit of a fad, till I sort of pointed out, well, that's worth this much, and that's worth this much, and this does this, and this engineering does that. He goes, okay, I'll go pick it up for you. And he was expecting, like, oh, I'm probably going to get a guy that turns into a race car, or turns into a gun, or a giant cannon, or a tank. I'm going to collect a figure for my son. Oh, yep, that'll be the bright pink Corvette space creature. This is a RC. Do you collect Transformers, sir? To which my dad's like... And so that's how I came into possession of FT24 Rouge after my father had a very complicated and confusing trip. Like, he wanted to leave immediately because he was so far out of his depth, but like they immediately latched on. "Oh, you're from Australia. That's awesome. Tell us more about it." He's like, "Can I just take the pink toy and leave now?" And so, yeah, my figure of 2018, if only because it makes my dad very uncomfortable, is Rouge from Fans Toys.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Fantastic figure. Oh, there goes her legs.
And like you said, it's riddled with issues.
Oh, the balance is okay. Just don't hold it by the legs for too long.
When you were talking before about the nerve-wracking transformation, is there any plastic whitening? Are you having any issues with that?
Not on this one, but that's only because I've identified the places where it'll happen beforehand, and I've been exceptionally careful. Just, generally, if you're not familiar, her backpack things that she's very, everyone's familiar with from the film, these effectively fold out about 8 times to encompass her entire car mode. And at one point, there is very, very much a panel that starts here, and you almost have to stress it up and over and fold it back down here. It's not hinged. You just need to stress it. I have no idea why. I thought it was wrong, but I've looked up online. And everyone says the same thing. You have to bend this part. And I'm like, yes.
So it's high on the display, not high on the transformation.
I transform her probably once every 2 months. Apart from that, I repose
just
her all the
keep
time.
The dust off.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, she sits up there with her boyfriend Springer, who is an open play Big Spring with a face replacement.
I was going to actually just say, like, looking across that shelf, it looks like you've got a KFC Junkie on. I wasn't sure if that was open and play Big Spring, but I do approve. That looks like a Fans Toys Coot, and I can't tell who's on the right.
So far right is Dumpyard from Keith Fantasy Club.
Right, the other Junkie.
Dumpyard. You can't get one Junkie on. You can't.
No, you can't. That's right.
So when I'm feeling frisky, Dumpyard gets turned into a bike and Wreckguard rides him around. Interpret that as you will.
When you're feeling frisky. I see.
It's a completely normal hobby, Dad. Buy me another toy.
Speaking of feeling frisky, Groovy Guy, what have you been collecting lately?
I haven't really been collecting much lately. There was the piece that I mentioned earlier, which I've had for a while before the show started, which you were very excited to see, and I said you are going to be very disappointed in it.
Okay, so this is because Ash and I did not know that this figure exists. So please do enlighten us.
Well,
this was a throwaway comment during the pre-show that we were talking about something else, and you mentioned this, and both Jace and myself went, "Sorry."
This is Titans Returns Tarn. Now, like I said before, he is just essentially a sticker set. He is a restickering of already existing toys. And see if you can guess what accessories have been used to make this toy. Here he is here.
See Blitzwing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The headmaster, though.
Yeah, I actually can't. I'm not likely to be able to identify the headmaster. Let's be honest.
Okay.
What is the gun?
That's Blitzwing's gun.
Is it? Oh, I didn't realize he had a gun that mounted on his wrist like that.
Yeah, and you got his sword mounted on the other wrist.
It's useful for his Megaton.
The head is actually Ape Face with another sticker on his mouthpiece. So he gets
I see.
Now you mentioned that, I've actually seen Ape Face at my local Maya, still on the shelf for $8.99. That is very close to Tarn.
Yep.
Interesting. So what's the sticker set that you added on?
I was going to say,
it's from Repro Labels. I can't remember. I think they're called Toy Hacks now.
Yes.
They do lots of different sticker sets to reimagine some characters into other characters. And I saw Titans Returns Tarn, and I really like the look of Tarn, but obviously there's no official figure of him.
No.
And this was
unfortunately in comic book limbo.
Yeah, this was at the time.
That's not true. There is an official figure of Tarn. He's just not a Transformer. It's the Flame Toys version.
Yeah. Well, this is
yeah, basically. Yeah.
This was at the time that Big W had, like Blitzwing going for like $20. So I thought I'd pick him up. Bought the sticker pack. I've also got this. This is actually a Titans Returns Tarn head, but you're not going to see much of it because it's an unpainted part from.
I can see enough of it. So is that something that you got from, say, Shapeways, somewhere that produced?
From Shapeways. Yeah,
So
I bought a few pieces. before.
Is that a full Titan Master? Like that's a printed, folding out Titan Master?
No. You actually so there's a screw inside any of your Titan Masters.
Mm-hmm.
Pop that screw out, and this face comes off.
So the back plate of the
this
Titan
face
Master itself
goes on.
is the new face. Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, I knew that repro labels or toy hacks nowadays, I knew that they did repro labels to enhance existing figures. I had no idea that it's sticker sets to change them entirely.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. There's a few different characters. You know, like you see Titans Returns, and you see, you know, like Tarn. He's like, hang on, there is no Titans Returns Tarn. So you click on it, it's like, this is your Titans Returns Blitzwing or Megatron with this sticker set applied, and he is now Titans Returns Tarn.
Well,
Yeah.
I can definitely name one thing I wish I didn't learn today, because I've just been bitten with the bug of customizing figures, and now I know that there's ways to enable it. That's terrible. That's a bad thing for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
I will give a bit of a tip, if I can. For the wings, if you are thinking of getting this set, I might do a video of this on my channel at some point. All the stickers on Blitzwing's wings and on his chest, they can actually easily be removed. These two little triangle stickers, I actually didn't remove first. I just put them on over the existing stickers, and it's sort of gotten a bit of a mishmash of colors, but it's a lot of fun. Putting like an awful lot of stickers, like all these. What else we got? We got these stickers.
Toy hacks almost leave no stone unturned with the stickers.
Yeah, the funny thing is, there are actually extra stickers that I haven't put on. They're sort of dependent on which. Yeah, they're dependent on which version of the mold you have. So yeah, very happy to actually have a Tarn toy. Now I just need to actually get the face painted, and I'll have a even more sinister looking Tarn on my shelf.
That's fantastic. That's really creative how you can just change the back plate of a Titan Master, create an entirely new head. Amazing.
It's even better if you can actually get the new head from somewhere else as well. So like you could get it from Shapeways, like you're saying.
Fantastic.
Yeah, there's lots of different. I highly recommend Shapeways if you're interested in you know, doing like little custom jobs and such. You can easily, like, you just type in Transformers and then Tarn, and you'll probably find this.
Tarn.
This is by, I think his name's Ariel Lemon or Fake Busker. That's this one.
I know him personally. He's a good guy.
Yeah, so I bought this from him. I think I also bought the Galvatron set from him that returns him from a Titan Master into like a full, you know, one-piece figure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Excellent.
Very good. All right. Look, I think we might draw things to a close because we have been going for quite a long time for the second week in a row. They're all going to be like this in 2019, folks. Yeah. Yes, Bumblebee isn't a reboot and talk. An hour later. So, we are currently, it is, as we're recording this, it is the 18th of January. There are going to be some TCCA meetups going on around the country, at least in 2 cities, and I know that because I've organized one of them for Sydney, and I think there might be one happening in Melbourne as well, at least. Keep an eye out in the discussion group because there will be some other events that will occur around Australia Day. The Sydney one is on the public holiday by common consensus. It will be on the Monday, the 28th of January. And the Melbourne is on Australia Day itself on the Saturday, and we'll have further announcements soon. So that is it. That's it for today. It is the end of the show. Thank you for listening, everyone. If you are watching along with the live record, and someone was at some point, we do record fairly late on a Friday night. It might have been. We do record fairly late on a Friday night, so if you don't watch the live record, it's okay. But thank you for checking us out. You will find out more about these stories and more, depending on how good an edit we do of the run sheet before posting the show notes, linked in the episode. You can find out more information about the show at transformersweekly.podbean.com. We are all in Transformers Collectors Club Australia on Facebook, and the podcast's Facebook page is, of course, Australian Transformers Weekly. You can find us on iTunes, Pocket Casts, YouTube, and more, just in case you've happened to ask your Google Assistant to play a Transformers podcast and suddenly you've ended up listening to us. Yeah, if you do head over to iTunes and give us a review, we like reviews. We like good reviews better than we like bad reviews, but that's okay.
Well, you were saying before there's no such thing as bad publicity, which actually no, you're saying that there is such a thing as bad publicity.
It totally is. There totally is.
Yeah.
All right. Australian Transformers Weekly is a production of Transformers Collectors Club Australia. We're a registered club in Victoria run by volunteers like us who donate their time and money like us to make the club better for everyone like you. Our goal is to connect Transformers fans around the country. We do it by engaging the collecting community. We attend conventions and we bring people in. Ash was just saying that his first exposure to TCCA was meeting me at Supernova, for which I will set the record 2 weeks in a row. I'm sorry. You can find out more information about TCCA, including affordable yearly membership options, to show your support for what we do at transformerscca.com. That is it from us. Ash, Groovy Guy, thank you for joining me. And would you like to tell listeners how they can see or hear more from each of you? Ash, I'm especially fond of what you've got to say. Please tell us.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the next time that you see me, we very well be at the Albert Hall in Tasmania, Launceston, for Annihilation Tasmanian Championship Wrestling Presents. It is going to be our 6th Annihilation show. It's going to be huge. When I'm not doing that, I'm talking on the radio here at Chili FM here in Launceston, at times just talking utter garbage. There's just no other way to describe it. If you want to see me do a Transformers quiz and actually do terribly at it to make myself feel great shame, you can see that as well. Other than that, I am a writer for a website known as Well Played, where we review all things video game related and sometimes things that come out early, so it's not a bad time.
Yeah. I get involved in some of those gigs as well myself, so yeah.
It's not a bad time.
Yeah. Mr. Groovy Guy, how about yourself?
Hello. Well, I do Transformers reviews. I haven't done one for a while, but that's on Groovy Guy on YouTube. Just look for the...
Just look for the big pair of legs.
Yeah, just look for the big pair of legs with the planet Cybertron between them.
Thank you, Shamil.
Just look for the smiley face with the yellow eyes and the green smile, and might be doing a video doing a comparison of this time with the regular Blitzwing at quite soon. So
does that mean that you've got another Blitzwing?
Yeah, I got the original Blitzwing when he first came out. It was my Blitzwing.
Blitzwing and Tarn. They're two different figures, obviously.
Yeah. Kind of a weirdo, are you?
I do have a Blitzwing sitting here if you need another one for comparison.
Yeah, just post it over.
Blitzwing, Tarn, and Jason's Blitzwing.
Yes. Right. Okay. That is it, guys. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for joining me, both of you. It's been a pleasure, and we'll hear more from you both in the coming weeks.
Until next time.
Thanks for having me, and it's always fun. Or until next time.
Yeah, it's fun until next time.
Yeah, that's when it gets serious.
It's all fun and games till someone loses a Megatron.
Unless he gets